another episode of Basic Literature. It's me, Ashley, your host. Thank you so much for being here and watching my crazy book reviews. I really appreciate it and would love for you to like, share, and subscribe, the trifecta of all functioning podcasts. If you can do that right now, that would be awesome. I so much appreciate it, and we'll jump right into it. All right. So we are back with part 2 of the train wreck of Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. And right now we are seeing some things start to unfold. You know, in part 1, we know that a crime was committed, and now we're seeing the main character, Raskolnikov, really getting cray. He is just worsening. The book keeps calling it an illness. And so that's throwing me off a little bit because it talks about how they think he's mentally ill, but then like there's some other illness going on. So I'm really excited to see like what's happening here, but he is not well. He is going a little crazy. He sleeps a lot, which honestly worries me about my 16-year-old. Like, is he okay? Maybe I should check on him. He sleeps a lot. Anyway, he's really feeling a lot of guilt. He's paranoid. He's sort of plagued by this paranoia. It is just driving him even more crazy. And that is because he pawnbroker, as you remember. Uh-oh. So it's affected his mental health, we know. But like I said, I'm curious as to what physical health that the doctor is sort of implying. So Raskolnikov has had a fever. He's been delirious. He was actually out for like several days just sleeping in bed after he went back to his apartment after he committed the murder. And so he was just like asleep for days on end, which again, what is going on with my 16-year-old because he does the same thing? Is he crazy? Did someone? We need to know. But he's often very fearful that he's somehow going to slip up that he did this and expose himself. And so he's very closed off to everybody that's in contact with him. His friend, his only friend that I'm aware of is Razumikin, and he's really concerned for him. He has been taking care of him and checking in on him a lot, making sure he's okay. He took some money and went and bought him some new clothes and like tries to get him up and get him out of the flat that he lives in and trying to get him out in the community to feel better. Although his concern is really growing over this erratic behavior that Raskolnikov is displaying. And so he involves a doctor, Dr. Zosimov, to kind of check him out, see what's going on. And he's the one that really keeps talking about this illness that's going on. So I'm curious, like I said, if there's more going on than just mental, but right now it seems like it's completely psychological. But I know that that is affecting his health. You know, he's been in bed, he's been sleeping a lot, which is really more than he was before. Also a detective that's kind of on his case. His name's Petrovich, and he's been questioning Raskolnikov a lot. In just subtle, like psychological ways, but it's making Raskolnikov very fearful and anxious and really driving him, I think, even more insane.
As if he wasn't paranoid already.
Raskolnikov also meets Sonia. Sonia is Marmeladov's daughter, and she is an interesting character. So in part 1, I don't think I mentioned this, but at the very beginning of the book, Raskolnikov goes to a bar and meets Marmeladov, who is a government clerk, like a low level, but he is kind of going on about his life and his circumstance. It's very sad, and you're wondering, like, how does all this play into the story? Who is this guy? So Marmeladov ends up telling Raskolnikov that because he's a loser and drinks all the time and has totally succumbed to his addiction, that he has basically pimped out his daughter to be a prostitute for the family. So it's kind of giving me the Fancy Don't Let Me Down vibes. So Fancy, aka Sonia, is the breadwinner by selling her body as a prostitute for the family because Marmeladov is a loser and he knows it, which is super weird. It's like he realizes that he has this problem, but he's not willing to like stop drinking. Anyway, Maladov and his wife don't get along. She's really upset that he's a loser and their daughter has to do this so that the family can survive. And she basically tells him, like, don't come around here unless you've got a job and you've quit drinking. So Sonia, though, has an interesting perspective on life. She's very compassionate and she's kind of becoming this symbol of potential redemption. So we'll see how that plays out. She really has a lot of faith and is resilient in contrast with Raskolnikov's moral struggle. And it's sort of hinting at the possibility of change or redemption for Raskolnikov. So we'll see. So the tension's building. It's getting pretty crazy as Raskolnikov is interacting with both the detective and Sonia. And they're sort of pushing him into a deeper confrontation with his conscience. And that's a question I'm sure we're going to have to answer in the next part. But it's just, everything's just swelling right now. There wasn't really a lot of things that happened during this part other than a lot of conversation, a lot of talking to Raskolnikov, like, dude, you've been sleeping for days. What's going on? What's wrong with you? Get up. You know, you're just saying all kinds of crazy stuff and you're not eating and you're sleeping all the time. What's going on? Why the change all of a sudden? And it's not like he had a drastic change. I mean, he was basically doing the same things, just not as drastic before the but he has changed quite a bit. Like, he was leaving the home and things like that, and he's not doing that anymore. So this part is just growing and tension building, and it's just getting really crazy. And I'm like, what is going to happen next? This book is really good about keeping you on the edge of your seat. If you want to read a book that keeps you constantly wanting to turn that next page, this is the book. It's so thick and heavy with drama and psychological themes. It really keeps you engaged as a reader. So I highly recommend that. But I would say for this part of the book, I would probably only give it like a 5 pips, only because it's just what it is. There's not a lot going on. It's just a lot of conversation and a swelling of the themes and everything that have already taken place in part 1. So it's sort of just like a means to an end. So I would give it a 5. It's good. It's solid. I wouldn't pick the book up for part 2 only, but it's very good at keeping it going. So I'll give it a 5 pips for this. This has been very good, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this book. As you know where I am, part 2, so I don't even know how many chapters that is. Like I said, I'm reading the audiobook. I don't know how you're supposed to describe that. How do you describe when you're reading an audiobook? Listening to the audiobook? I don't know. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Don't reveal anything to me because I don't want to know what happens yet. I try not to read. So when I read a book, just FYI, when I read a book, I don't read anything about the book in advance. I only read the book because I don't want to be influenced by anyone's opinion. I don't want to have any predisposition. I just want to jump in and read it knowing nothing. So that's all for this part 2 review of Crime and Punishment. I would love it if you would like, share, and subscribe. Please do that so I can continue bringing this somewhat entertaining content to you. I love doing this and I love sharing my thoughts. So provide your feedback. Let me know what you think. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of this exhilarating content. See you next time.